For centuries, Africa's heart has beaten to the rhythm of its land. But the seeds of promise have struggled to sprout. Fertilizers hold the promise of bountiful harvests, yet for many African farmers, they remain out of reach. A tangled web of high prices, unreliable supply chains, and limited knowledge keeps these vital inputs just beyond their grasp. Governments, NGOs, and international bodies have rolled out initiatives to make fertilizers more accessible across Africa. These efforts often involve offering subsidies, streamlining distribution, and educating farmers on the transformative power of fertilizers. Reliable data is essential for the success of these initiatives.
Mbeleni tulikuwa na shida ya fertilizer. Hatukuwa tunaelewa tutakuwa tukitumia fertilizer gani. Kwa 1 acre tulikuwa tulifundishwa inafaa tutumie 100 kgs, that is 2 bags, 50 kgs, 50 kgs.
A green revolution in Africa hinges on fertilizers, a fact not lost on its leaders. In the 2006 Abuja Declaration, they pledged to boost fertilizer use from a meager 8 kilograms per hectare to a robust 50 kilograms. Yet, despite these ambitious goals, the continent continues to fall short.
Government had introduced price control on fertilizers. This created uncertainty and proved to be a problem. You could not import fertilizers until you had received official approval of the selling price.
Reaching the Abuja Declaration's ambitious goals required data-driven decisions from both public and private sectors. However, without accurate information, there were a lot of missed opportunities and inefficiencies. To bridge the data gap, the International Fertilizer Development Center's Africa Fertilizer Initiative, Development Gateway, a NIREX venture, and Wallace & Associates joined forces, supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, under a program dubbed VIFA, that is Visualizing Insights on Fertilizer for African Agriculture, to create groundbreaking tools that would revolutionize access to fertilizer data across Africa.
From 2006, there was an understanding from the entire market and the entire stakeholders that data needed to feature a bit more prominently in informing decisions at government and also at the private sector level. But at that time, data existed in a very disaggregated format, only in Excel sheets, that did not make any sense and was not usable for these decision-making purposes.
The Visualizing Insights on Fertilizer for African Agriculture VIFA provides vital information on fertilizer trade, production, consumption, and prices through comprehensive, visually appealing, and user-friendly dashboards.
Work has started with the initial 3 countries, then we expanded to 5 more countries, namely Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, and Ethiopia. And up to date, all dashboards are released. They're available online in 3 languages. We work with stakeholders to make sure that we are solving the needs. We are providing exactly the kind of information they need, looking at different indicators. So we're talking about trades here, we're talking about consumptions, also talking about prices data, which is collected at different levels.
Countries that are not dashboard countries also have data. For example, when I open Côte d'Ivoire, it has information on the country overview, and then it has graphs where we are looking at trade and apparent consumption, where we are looking at prices, where we are looking at the nutrient conversion, also available.
The fertilizer technical working groups facilitate collaboration among various actors in the fertilizer sector in addressing challenges and finding solutions at the national level.
A ideia aqui é tentarmos melhorar aquilo que tem sido as preocupações das empresas, que é para ver se o ambiente seja esse de conforto. Sermos amigos profissionalmente, não inimizades, porque é o que estava a ver também, né? Mas eram dificuldades, estamos a tentar assim mesmo, pouco a pouco, vamos assim dizer, Very good.
We've formed 17 technical working groups in the African continent, but with a focus on VFAM, the 8 countries, the first step that we did when we were doing the project design was to do inception workshops. So we brought together all the different stakeholders, led by the government, led by the importers themselves, led by the consumers, the agro-dealers and the farmers themselves. They wanted to understand which are the most favorable source markets for fertilizer, how do we set our subsidy prices in the different countries.
For some countries, we've been able to develop policy pages. So when you look at a country like Ghana, a policy page has to do with the subsidy of fertilizers. In Ghana, the subsidy is called Planting for Food and Jobs. But over the years, it has transitioned and it has now come to the Planting for Food and Jobs. So on the policy pages of the Ghana Fertilizer Dashboard, you get to see the price that farmers pay for a bag of fertilizer and then the price that the government also subsidized for a bag of fertilizer.
Thanks to data collected and analyzed by Africa Fertilizer and the VFA partners, Ghana's Ministry of Food and Agriculture has made informed decisions about its subsidy program, Planting for Food and Jobs, for 6 years.
There was some crisis, some shortage of fertilizer in the country. That was last year, and the minister, wanted to know where the problem was coming from. So we wanted to know whether it was the volumes of import that were coming in, which was not enough, or maybe the companies had enough, but they were hoarding, because sometimes they do that so they can create artificial shortage and get better price. Quickly, I visited the African Fertilizer website. I was able to get information on import, for that particular year, the volumes that were imported. So we got to know that, look, the problem hasn't to do with import, was rather because the companies were hoarding. We as ministry, we need this data to be able to take good decisions. So if you are taking decisions based on wrong data or data that is not good, then the decisions will be misleading.
In Kenya, Africa Fertilizer's data and insights into consumption patterns has been a game changer for government subsidies.
Anytime now, when we are even making decisions, we are happy because we only need to go to the dashboard and then we can see how the fertilizer prices are building up.
Government and donor organizations have also leveraged Africa Fertilizer's data to identify crops and regions in Kenya that could benefit from increased fertilizer use.
We work a lot with government by giving them current information. So we use IFDC data and we actually send it to government. We send it to government at ministry level, we send it to the President's office very regularly. In fact, the President's office, to the transformation team there called the PETS, we regularly send them updates on pricing because they are very keen on knowing what's happening. We send it to people like IMF and World Bank as well. We work a lot with them as well. They want to know all the time what's happening in current market. We send it to development agencies like AGRA. So we use this information quite a lot to influence policy and making sure everybody, including the private, knows what's going on with the pricing.
Ethiopia, a fertilizer powerhouse in sub-Saharan Africa, boasts the second largest market, largely under government control. The government's procurement agency, the Ethiopia Agricultural Business Corporation, relies on the dashboards to streamline procurement and ensure timely tender announcements.
Ethiopia, in this year, we are just making a remarkable change and they save so many USD dollars and Ethiopian birr by just arranging and eliminating so many barriers, especially the purchasing issue. That is why we save around 20 billion Ethiopian birr.
Fertilizer use among smallholder farmers has dramatically increased. Since 2011, annual fertilizer imports in Ethiopia have skyrocketed from 650,000 metric tons to 1.7 million metric tons in 2023. This surge has boosted fertilizer consumption per hectare of arable land to 48.5 kilograms as of 2023. Mozambique, a strategic trade artery for Southern and Central Africa, serves as a vital gateway for fertilizer, channeling its flow through its ports and transport networks.
The new fertilizer dashboard, it will help to influence the policy in Mozambique because we have the figures which can help the government to make their right decision
on the fertilizer sector in the country.
Data transparency in Zambia, powered by the VFA program, has empowered importers to pinpoint the best fertilizer markets so they can meet their obligations under the Farm Input Subsidy Program, FISP. The data helps them secure better deals with global suppliers and save money. Zambia's Agricultural Research Institute, ZARI, used Africa Fertilizer's data to assess fertilizer demand and per hectare usage for a parliamentary audit on soil sampling efficiency. In Malawi, Africa Fertilizer, working with VFA partners, institutionalized a fertilizer technical working group to address fertilizer issues and ensure timely procurement through the Affordable Inputs Program. Africa Fertilizer's data has aided the Ministry of Agriculture in planning and reporting for the Affordable Inputs Program and guided new market entrants, ensuring a more informed and resilient fertilizer landscape.
Information that possibly about 4 years ago you are not able to have access to. You need to go to possibly customs, you need to go to CBN to get this information, but today is readily available for us to see.
Africa Fertilizer's reliable data has empowered Nigeria with evidence-based policies and efficient resource allocation.
When we look at the data validated this year by AFO, it will enable us to see whether we're going to increase it from 35% local consumption to 40%. So you see, every year after the validation, we'll be able to see the trend in local consumption of fertilizer or the local need of fertilizer, so that local demand, so that we'll be able to know the kind of policies to put in place.
Recognizing Africa Fertilizer's expertise, the government engaged the VFA partners in a comprehensive study of its presidential fertilizer initiative, aimed at boosting smallholder access and fostering domestic manufacturing capabilities. Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority, the driving force behind the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, leveraged VFA partners to supercharge the country's blending capacity, increasing the number of plants from just 4 to more than 80.
One of the great things that we have enjoyed from AFO is that insight. The AFO focuses on helping the ecosystem to understand what came in, what was used, what is left, and also from a pricing standpoint.
As a manufacturer of fertilizer in Nigeria, and the platform that you are provided on as Africa Fertilizer has given us the opportunity to utilize those robust data that you have on your platform for our planning and for our decision making. Today, with what you have provided on your platform, I can easily go there and pick some data about what is available in Nigeria in terms of raw material, about inputs, what is available in Nigeria as regards blended fertilizer. I can actually project into the few months ahead to say, okay, this is what I need to bring into Nigeria to support the agricultural productivity of Nigeria for that period.
Data consumption has significantly improved coming from the last decade. Over the years, the stakeholders in the region have begun to embrace data as part of their day-to-day running of not only policy but business decisions.
In Senegal, Africa Fertilizer has helped optimize subsidy allocation and address challenges related to fertilizer access and affordability. Senegal was the first Francophone country to benefit from the dashboards, and its insights have been also invaluable to surrounding countries.
Senegal is interesting because we have the borders too, and the border country are also a good client for Senegal. It's only for the Senegal. And what we want is, at this point, we have maybe our neighbor from Gambia. They can have data from Senegal. They can know what is available. We're looking for this type of fertilizer, but it's available in Senegal. So we help the private sector also on this matter. So it's not only Senegal on its own.
Il faut nécessairement que ces pays communiquent, harmonisent leurs politiques pour faciliter le commerce intra-Afrique de l'Ouest. Et ça donnerait beaucoup plus d'efficacité à nos politiques agricoles, ça donnerait beaucoup plus d'efficacité au commerce, etc.
The private sector too has been leaning on Africa Fertilizer's data to improve their profitability and identify new business opportunities. The West Africa Fertilizer Association, WAFA, a united front of importers, producers, processors and distributors, leverages Africa Fertilizer's data to track regional fertilizer consumption and advocate for policy changes, including the integration of the fertilizer trade across West Africa.
Between 2016 and now, we've seen the consumption in fertilizer in West Africa grow to an average of about 22 kilograms per hectare, as against 10, 12 kilograms that it was at that time. So this has been some good that we have seen.
VIFA's journey has been marked by challenges, but it's a testament to the power of collaboration. Where trust takes root, innovation blooms.
You cannot develop and design anything that is data relevant in a silo. You need the expertise of another organization such as Africa Fertilizer that owns this data, owns the relationships, and can constantly ensure that the data is being collected and being fed to us, right? And then there is the advisory component of Wallace & Associates that guides us in certain conversations on how to proceed in certain at certain decision-making points. And then there's the context that we bring, which is the technical aspect of the work. And there is no way that you can have a cohesive data component without these three different organizations working basically in a very seamless manner. And that transcends to how we work even with our other partners.
We have a long way to go. Nigeria has apparent consumption data from the last 10 years. So we have that in some countries, but there's many, many more. Africa Fertilizer has a footprint of 18 countries, but there's 55 countries on the continent.
Africa Fertilizer's insights will empower African countries to develop and refine fertilizer strategies that align with the Nairobi Declaration's goals of sustainable agriculture and local fertilizer production.
Currently, we are doing regional stakeholder engagements to actually inform the next 10-year action plan on agricultural transformation for the continent. So we think that is where our starting point is, because it is this 10-year action plan that actually inform our Agenda 2063 and the rest, and the SDGs and all that.
The Nairobi Declaration is on a continental level, so that will be cascaded down to each country, and each country will prioritize its own intervention.
Against this backdrop, fertilizer consumption in Africa has surged by 11% annually. This success underscores the need for even greater investment from stakeholders to scale up these efforts continent-wide. Across Africa, the transformative power of data-driven insights is clear. VIFA has ignited a revolution. The partnership of the International Fertilizer Development Center's Africa Fertilizer Initiative, Development Gateway, a Nyrex venture, and Wallace & Associates, and with support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has laid a foundation for a long-lasting impact. The investments made through the VIFA program will continue to shape the future of Africa's agriculture for years to come.